want to begin by quickly thanking everyone for the many contributions that you made to this community, thanking the family members who've made a long journey to be here with us tonight, thanking the workers and the staff members who helped cultivate this beautiful space for ourselves tonight, thanking Dean Murray and Dean Engelmeyer for the beautiful statements, and I'm going to be thanking you all tonight throughout my speech, but I want to thank each and every one of you again for having been with me every step of this journey up until this point. I love you all very much. I want to begin by sharing a story with you all. In the summer of 2022, I found myself working in what I consider to be a dream job. I worked on Senator Mark Kelly's campaign as a Spanish region organizer, meaning that I solely engaged with Spanish-speaking voters across Arizona to encourage them to not only vote in the 2022 midterm election, but also show up in support of the senator at the polls. I entered the role feeling empowered. I finally had the opportunity to work with my people, and for once felt like my weird obsession with politics was finally paying off. As excited as I was for the new role, I will admit that the job wasn't particularly pleasant. From being chased around an entire neighborhood by a pack of stray chihuahuas, to having it happen, or more than once, to having many doors shut on my face. I often ended up leaving my shifts feeling discouraged and exhausted. During my long drives back home, I stared blankly at the road thinking, how in the world did I get myself into this mess? And I often contemplated whether or not I should quit to preserve my sanity prior to entering my senior year. During one of these drives, I caught myself once again staring blankly at the road before me. My shift had been very difficult that day, and I really felt as if I was ready to give up on this job that I had always wanted to do within my community. I felt disappointed, mainly because I convinced myself that I was failing the voters I was meant to work with. While out knocking doors that day, one family in particular gave me a really hard time, going as far as telling me to stop wasting my time and instead do better things with my life. I don't know what their problem was, but it really couldn't be. After the shift, I left work feeling absolutely defeated. I was on the brink of contacting my supervisor to let them know that I was going to quit. I felt tears welling up in my eyes at the thought of having to give up on a role that I had been striving for ever since I became involved in Arizona's political scene. To top it all off, I was blasting Adele in my car during my drive home to really channel how horrible I was feeling. If there's one thing I knew at that moment, it was the fact that my girl Adele would help me get those bills up to a long day. Clap it up for Adele. Upon collecting myself enough to regain my focus on the road and actually continue driving, my eyes caught a glimpse on a familiar sight. To my right, I saw the hot Arizona sun beginning to set behind the white Tank mountain range, emitting a purplish, pinkish hue that illuminated the entire sky. Growing up in Arizona, I had seen sunsets like this one all the time, but this particular sunset really caught my attention. I got off the road and pulled into a parking lot, stepped out of my car, and decided to stop for a second to watch the sun sink behind the mountain range. While watching the sunset, I felt a strange range of emotions. On one hand, I was feeling anxious about my spontaneous decision to stop and watch the sunset, and on the other, I felt desperate as I sought to find a deeper meaning of the sight before me. As the sun was about to fully vanish behind the mountain range, I took one last deep breath and looked up to see a brilliant ray of light pouring over the peaks. Tears started to once again well up in my eyes, but this time I didn't want to cry out of anguish or disappointment about what I went through in my shift. I wanted to cry because I was feeling something I had not felt for a long time up until that point. I felt the feeling of hope. As we approach the end of our time here at Holy Cross, I want to take some time to help you all channel that feeling of hope as you look toward new horizons. Whether we are continuing our studies in graduate school or heading into the workforce to apply what we have learned throughout our time on this campus, we must remind ourselves of what exists beyond the life we have held up until this point. I invite you all to remember the many moments of hope you may have felt during your time at this institution. This sentiment has permeated throughout many of our experiences on campus, even in times where we felt as if there was no chance that things would ever go our way. When I first stepped foot on the Hill while I moved in for the Odyssey program, very messy process from what I remember, my anxiety quickly turned into a feeling of hope as I began to imagine what new possibilities I would encounter at this school. When I thought I wasn't going to get any of the classes I wanted during my first enrollment experience, that feeling of hope was there to provide me with the reassurance that everything would be okay, even if I ended up just getting one class. It still hurt, but we just rolled with the punches. When we were sent home due to the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic, the feeling of hope pushed me through my online courses and fueled my dream that one day we would be able to return to the Hill to get our degree. Today, I once again feel that same sense of hope. As I look around, I see the faces of students who have sacrificed so much to be here today. I see the many people who grew right beside me as we navigated the challenges of being at a predominantly white institution. People who have firmly grasped onto their identities and never once wavered to the pressures of conformity. I see the faces of my friends who were there to hold me up at my lowest and to champion me when I felt like I could take on the world. I see the administrators, the faculty, and the staff that have accompanied me throughout the arduous journey of being a first-generation college student. Individuals who I believe have genuinely changed my life forever. Today, my friends, I feel hope as I look at the next generation of leaders before me. I feel hope as I reflect on the work we have done to get to this point, and I feel hopeful as I imagine just how much we will change our communities by applying the lessons we have learned here at Holy Cross. Today, we will be witnessing our last sunset on the Hill. I invite you all to take this moment, the moment like I did, and watch the sun slowly sink behind the horizon alongside your family and friends. Embrace this final sunset on the Hill as if it were the beginning of a new chapter in your lives. Bask in the vastness of the horizon before us and remind yourselves of this. Your lived experiences and the intersection of these experiences with your identity have prepared you to be the leaders of our future. Our unique identities are what make this life worth living. Our unique identities are what make this world great. And our unique identities are what I believe give us all that rich feeling of hope. We must never let anyone tell us otherwise. I want to thank you all for everything. And I will hold what I have experienced in school close to my heart for the rest of my life. And I end today with a heart teeming with hope that we will all continue to make great strides to create a better world, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. Thank you all very much.
Dean Mabel L. Milner served the College of the Holy Cross for nearly 20 years